In this video, we're going to learn about dative prepositions in German. But first, we're going to have a quick recap of two important concepts. Firstly, the dative or the dative case, and secondly, prepositions. A recap of the dative. Let's be very clear. When we're talking about cases like the dative case or the dative for short, we are referring to the role of a noun in a sentence. If a noun is in the dative case, it is an indirect object. That means it is not directly impacted by the verb. For example, the sentence, I'm giving the present. In this sentence, we have a clear subject, I, we have a verb, am giving, and we have a direct object, the present. But until we add another person, we do not have anything in the dative case. We need something that is indirectly affected by the verb. So if we add to you, I'm giving the present to you, then you are affected by the verb giving, but only indirectly. You are not being given. It's the same thing in German. Ich gebe das Geschenk. I'm giving the present. Or ich gebe dir das Geschenk. In the second German sentence, the dir, which is a dative pronoun, is affected by the verb geben, but only indirectly. It is not the thing or the person being given, but rather it is the thing or person to which or to whom is being given. Here's a quick recap of prepositions. Prepositions are parts of speech, that is, types of words that have a particular role in a sentence. You can think of prepositions in two basic ways. The first is that they are words that go with nouns, and the second is that they are location words. The most basic way to think about prepositions is as words that go with nouns. You can have all types of nouns, objects, things, people, for example, table, and in particular, the table you're talking about. But there are lots of different words we can add to that little phrase, the table, like on, to help specify why we're talking about the table. Likewise, with the noun day, you could be talking in particular about that day, but you can add words like after, which help connect that day to other parts of your sentence. Or you can think of prepositions as location words. That is, if you have any noun, a thing, such as a table, you can talk about things being on the table, above the table, under the table, behind, near, next to or beside the table, or even between the legs of the table or at the table. All of these different location words are preposition words. Just as prepositions can refer to physical location, where something is physically, like on that table, they can also refer to temporal location, that is, where something is in terms of time. Was it after that day, or was it before last year, or is it around 10 o'clock? One further clarification. By dative prepositions, we mean prepositions that are always followed by nouns in the dative case. There's another type of prepositions called two-way prepositions, which are sometimes followed by nouns in the accusative and sometimes followed by nouns in the dative. There's another video for that. However, dative prepositions are always followed by nouns in the dative case. The following is a list of all the dative prepositions in German. My strong recommendation is, firstly, to memorize the list, perhaps using a memory aid of some sort, a song or a rhyme. Secondly, to use them consciously whenever you can, using the correct endings for the nouns and articles, but not worrying too much if you get them wrong. And thirdly, to use them so much that the dative and its accompanying endings eventually become automatic. Aus, bei, mit, nach, von, zu, außer, seit, gegenüber, entgegen. Aus means from a city or country, or out of. For example, ich komme aus Australien. I come from Australia. Bei means near or with or at someone's house. It's a very useful preposition for expressing proximity. For example, die Kinder übernachten bei Michael. the children are staying over at Michael's place. Mit is just the normal word for with. For example, gehst du mit meiner Schwester aus? Are you going out with my sister? Nach means to a city or country, or after in terms of time. For example, die Schüler gehen nach Deutschland. The students are going to Germany. Von is the regular word for from or of. For example, das Geschenk kommt von ihr. The present comes from her. Zu means to. For example, du musst früher zur Schule gehen. You have to go earlier to school. Außer means except for or apart from. For example, außer einer leichten Prellung war unverletzt. Except for or apart from a light bruise, he was unscathed or unharmed. Seit means since in terms of time or for in terms of time. For example, ich lerne seit 3 Jahren Deutsch. I have been learning German for 3 years. Gegenüber means opposite or opposite to. For example, unsere netten Nachbarn wohnen gegenüber uns. Our nice neighbours live opposite to us. Entgegen means against or towards. For example, das ist allem entgegen, was wir bisher beschlossen hatten. That's against everything that we'd decided up to that point. You will have noticed that German prepositions do not have exact English equivalents. You simply have to learn through lots of exposure to the German language exactly when each preposition is used. That's half the fun of it. Here's a list of the 4 important contractions you need to know when you use dative prepositions in German. Above all, because you might get confused if you see these contractions and not understand where they come from. Bei plus dem is equal to beim, zu plus dem is equal to zum, zu plus der is equal to zur, and von plus dem is equal to vom. Notice that in each of these cases you have a preposition, then a the word, which is called the definite article, and they combine because it's easier to say. Finally, and most importantly, viel Spaß beim Deutsch lernen.